Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining our Evolve 365 Microsoft Tips and Tricks session today. We wanted to start this weekly series to give simple and easy tips that anyone can go back to their desk and quickly implement. We know your time is valuable, so we strive to keep sessions to no more than 30 minutes, sometimes less. We also push the topics out monthly, so you only have to sign up once for the monthly series instead of 4 or 5 times. If you ever miss a session, you can find the recordings on our Planet Technologies YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Planet Technologies. A little about myself. I'm your host, Tanya Kaiser. I have more than 15 years experience with project management across multiple industries, including technology, legal, nonprofit, and construction. I'm a longtime Microsoft geek and a big SharePoint nerd, and one of the things that I enjoy in helping others is learning new skills, whether it be with an application they're familiar with, like Office, or something completely new to them, like SharePoint. If you ever have any questions after a session, please feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn, or just send me an email. A little about Planet. Planet has been providing expert support in the Microsoft world for over 18 years. We offer full services for the entire Microsoft Cloud and Productivity Suite, including advisory, deployment, and training services, mobile application development and solutions, and strategic business consulting, including technology, compliance, and security guidance. So let's go ahead and kick things off. Today, we're going to take another look at the backbone of business communications, email. In-person meetings are great when they can happen, and virtual meetings are a wonderful alternative, especially for those remote workers that are happening more and more in today's world. But email is the glue that seems to hold everything together and something that most people fall back to. So we're going to take a quick look at a few short changes that you can make to make sure that your email is working for you and not the other way around. So your email signature, this is always my number one tip that people need to pay attention to when it comes to email, whatever kind of email application you're using. Of course, we're talking about Microsoft Suite, so we're going to be looking at Outlook today. Whether you're using Google Mail or something from an iPhone, like the in mobile mail apps, whether it's iPhone or Android, you need to have a signature of some sort on any place that you're going to be using email. And the number one reason is this is your calling card. Your signature should have all of the contact information that somebody may need to get in touch with you or to be able to give information about you. And it's usually that second piece that is missed by a lot of people. People think, well, I don't need an email signature because they have my email, they're replying to me. But, business cards are not something that a lot of people keep around. And if they only have your email to go by and they're outside your organization, they really don't have a lot of information to give out of you if they're pulling it up on the fly. So your signature can include all of that nice contact information. Of course, they already have your email, but you make sure you want to include your phone number. Your title is really, really good to include. That's one that I always recommend to people. And again, this is your calling card. This is how people are going to find out who you are. And if they have to ever give out your information, you want to make sure that they have it where it's easy to find. So it's great to set that up in email. Again, you want to think about what sort of stuff do you have in your email right now? Is it just your name? Do you have just your phone number in your email? Maybe you want to think about things like hyperlinks for your company's website or your own social media accounts such as Twitter or LinkedIn, or if you have a blog that you use. And the other thing that I want to mention is, I've already talked about this, wherever you're using email, you want to make sure that you add a signature on every location across all of your devices. So for a lot of office workers, this tends to be the Outlook desktop client. For Office 365 people who may be using a shared workstation or mobile or remote, that means going onto Outlook mobile and making sure that it's set up in Outlook online. Of course, we all have our personal devices. This can be your iPhone or your Android phone, a tablet such as an iPad or even a Kindle, and of course, any other devices, whether it's a laptop that you have or maybe you switch back and forth between the Outlook desktop client and the Windows 10 mail app. Anywhere that you can possibly send an email from should have at least the basic info on your signature. So I'm going to switch over to my demo screen really quickly. And we're just going to go straight into the very first one that's the most widely used application. We're going to go into Outlook email. So this is actually the Windows 10 app, so let me get that closed off really quickly. And let me go ahead and open up Outlook. So Outlook is, again, one of the most widely used applications out there, and this is just going to be one of the demo accounts that I set up earlier today. So this is a brand new email client. Now, because it is a demo client, we've got some pre-populated emails in here, but this is what somebody may see when they first log into Outlook and they just set up their email client. Now, again, we've already got a lot of information. We can see that there's some groups here. We've got our favorites window, and you can do a lot of customization within Outlook itself. But one of the very first things we want to make sure that you do is set up your email. Now, most of your settings for your email are going to be under File, and then your options window. This is going to give you a pop-up, and you can see we've got a lot of different tabs here. The one we want to go to is Mail, and then you can see there's another tab here for Signatures. So this is where all your signatures are going to be controlled from the Outlook desktop client. So you can see I don't have anything in here, so I want to come in and create a brand new one. And I actually recommend creating two, so I'm just going to call this Standard, and I'm going to actually put the name of my company in here. And then you've now got a space where you can come in and, again, you just want to type in your name. If you know what your title is, you want to go ahead and put your title. I don't really remember the name of this demo account, so I'm just going to make something up. Now, at the basic, you should have your phone number. You know, if you have an office number and maybe you have a cell, you can add that in there. And of course, you already have your email, but it's always nice to include that at the bottom. And the reason I say this is because, again, think of it as a virtual business card. If the only contact information that somebody has is your email, you want to give them as much possible information as possible. Now, you can expand on this. You can come in and, add the company name. A lot of people don't include addresses. If you have maybe the headquarters address, you can put that in there. If you wanted to add in some additional information about your manager, because maybe you do a lot of emails on behalf of somebody, you can, put that information in. So really, this can really grow. Now, a couple of tips here. The basic information you should have is your name, your title, your email, and your phone number. So your name, of course, they've got it, but it's always nice to include it on the email signature. Your email may be truncated. Maybe it only has first initial, last name, or first name, last initial. So always include your full name that you go by in your email signature. I say your title because that's really important to people if they have to pass your information on to somebody else. You have your email, but if somebody's forwarding it, it may get cut off depending on what email program they're using. So always include your email and include your phone number. I say include your phone number because mobile devices are so prevalent now, so someone may need to give you a call. They're going to open up their email and they want to be able to click on that phone number. Now, again, we talked about adding some other information that you can include in here. If you have social media accounts, you can come in here and type in your Twitter name. And then I usually use the pipe symbol. And if you have a, LinkedIn page, and these are all made up ones that I just did, you can type those in as well. And maybe you have, the company website as well. Oop. And it sometimes helps to spell it correctly. Now, what you can do within this is you can come in, now that you've typed those in, and make these actual hyperlinks. So just select that text. You've got the little link button up here where you can put in the address. So we would just want to fill in Twitter, whatever that address is for you. And then that will turn it into a hyperlink. Now, the great thing about this is these are made up links, so there may or may not be a Twitter account for, the fictional Sarah Davis, but I'm just going to put these in really quickly. The great thing is I always tell people to start off with setting this up in Outlook, because then we're just going to rinse and repeat. We're going to come in, we're going to copy the same signature, and we're going to add it to all the other locations that we may access it. So we've got a good signature here. We've got our name, and you can do some formatting if you want. I usually recommend that people keep it pretty basic. Don't come in and make this, a signature font, something that's really stylized, that looks like a signature. I see that every now and then, and the reason I recommend against that is because if that person on the receiving end does not have the font, it may come in choppy to them, or it may come in even with boxes, depending on, again, what email program they're using it, how are they receiving it. If they're on a thin client and all they see is plain text, no matter how you format it, you want to make sure that you've got the basics in there. We've got name, we've got title, we've got some additional information, the company name, a phone number, we're specifying our mobile number, we've got our email, and then we also have some links in here. So this is a pretty basic email. Now, I hear a lot of comments against this, people saying, well, that's too long. I don't want to add all that information in there. And this is why I recommend setting up a second one. And I just call it reply, and I'm going to put my company name in there. and it can come in and we can just paste in that same information, but now we're going to do some editing. So we've got a basic reply email, and we will put the bare minimum in here. We're going to put our phone number, our email, and then we're even going to delete our link. So at the bare minimum, we've got our name, our number, and our email. Now, again, I still kind of like to include the title in here, just in case if this is the only thing that they're forwarding it on, they've got that basic info. It's really up to a preference, but we can go ahead and save that one. And now we've got our standard email, which has all of our links, and we've got our reply email. You'll notice over here on the right, it gives us an option. For brand new messages, we're going to send that full fleshed out signature. For replies and forwards, we're going to send our reply one. Let Outlook do the work for you. You don't have to insert the signature. You're telling it what to do. So this is the very first place you want to start. If you're using the Outlook desktop client, which a lot of people are, go to File Options, go to Mail, take the time to set up those signatures, set up a full one with all the information that you could possibly have. If it would go on a business card, add it in there, and then set up a shorter one for replies. Now we've got this information copied. I'm going to make sure I've got it copied again. I'm just going to come in and copy it. Now we're going to jump into the Windows 10 app, since we're seeing a lot of organizations upgrade to Windows 10. Now this is one of the complaints that I hear often. You know, I have one email address. Why doesn't this carry across? And it really, if you think of it like email, you have one email address, but you can get it from multiple locations, but it doesn't magically appear. You know, you have email set up on your Outlook, but when you get a brand new phone, you still have to go through those paces of setting up that email, and it works the same way for signatures. So you do have to go through the process of setting it up, and that's sometimes painful, but it is something good to do. So on the Windows 10 app, if you're using that, you can come in, you see you've got an account here, and then over, I had the menu up earlier, under our settings menu, you know, you want to manage the accounts, but you can see there's a signature option right there, right built in. Now, again, we want to come in here and select the account. And in the Windows 10 Mail app, there's not a whole lot of options. You can just pretty much, you know, turn it on or off. You've got one little line, and that's why I said copy and paste. You can see I can come in here. These links aren't going to come through. We'll leave it on there, and then we'll go in, and if we create a brand new email, you can see it filled it in, and I really don't have links there. And this is why you start with the Outlook desktop client first, and then come in and adjust as needed. So we're going to discard that email. We'd go back into our settings and then adjust it. And this is one of the other good things. It's a good exercise to review your signature, you know, every year. Maybe when you do your annual review at your organization, you take a look at your email and say, you know, is it time to come in and make some adjustments? Maybe I have a different title. Maybe, you know, I have a different phone number. But then you can check each account and make sure that it's showing what it should. So if I click that new mail again, now my email, it's plain text, but this is going to work for what I need in the Windows 10 app. So pretty easy to set up. Now we're going to go ahead and discard that. Now the next location we want to check is online, since a lot of people are using Outlook online these days. So this is going to look very familiar to a lot of people. It's going to look really similar to the Outlook desktop client if you're using Office 2016, but you have the same kind of settings. So you've got your inbox, you've got your mail, it's already been set up. You want to come over to your settings gear, scroll down and select mail, and then you can see we've got a signature option. Again, layout, it's under email signature, and it's going to load that up. And you can see you have the choice, automatically include my signature, and we want to go ahead and select both of those. Now again, you're always going to get less options on the Windows 10 and, you know, the online app. So this case, because it's actually operating from, you know, Outlook Online, it does pull in our links. But remember, we don't have that choice of a different reply. So maybe we want to do some editing here. Maybe we want to take out, you know, that assistant information. Maybe we just want to list, you know, our main phone number, which happens to be our mobile number, and maybe we want to remove our links. It's up to you. Just be aware of which email program you're using and how that's going to come across. So, you know, if we didn't want to include the links on this one, because again, we want it to be as concise as possible, since we know it's going to be used for all messages, including replies, maybe we're happy with that. We can save that. And then now we're ready to go on our Outlook Online mobile. You would want to do the same thing for, you know, the iPhone application. If you're using the native mail application in iPhone or Android, if you're using it on a tablet, anywhere that you're going to send email, go through and set up that email signature. Now, if I come in here and click New, you can see my signature is in there. It's ready to go. I don't have to think about it after I've taken these first few steps. So we're going to go ahead and discard that one and go back to my PowerPoint. So just taking a look at that, that's the biggest thing. You know, your signature is your calling card. You want to make sure people can get a hold of you. You want to make sure they have the right information about you. And I can't stress enough, set it up in every possible location and device that you're going to be sending mail from. So next week, we're going to be talking about the Android apps, and I'll go through some of those different settings and show you that, where you can set it up on the mobile applications. So one other change that you can make that'll really help your email experience is to streamline some of your searching. So you can come in, and search works really well with an email. It's kind of an either or. Either you're a person who creates a lot of folders and puts everything in folders and categorizes things that way, or they're all in the inbox, all in the sent items, and you rely very heavily on search. I tend to be a folder person, but I still do a lot of searching. Usually when I'm looking for, a particular topic and I want to review the history, or, maybe I got pulled into a project and I don't have a folder set up for it. But search did change slightly. So in Outlook 2010 and earlier, if you did a search, you would actually get the search result on the current folder that you're looking in. And then in 2013, that kind of changed. If you did a search, it really was searching all folders in the mailbox. So that means that you could pull up things from deleted items or a different folder, and it really didn't tell you where those items were located. So this is one way you can streamline your search. So nowadays, when you do that search, it's going to include everything, including deleted items. You may not want that. You can still filter the searches and add additional columns, but you can also make your search by default only search the current folder. So that's a really, really easy to change setting, and I'm going to go into the desktop app and show you how quickly you can do that. Now, again, this is in the Outlook client app. If you're using only, the online applications, you're just kind of limited to that search box. But when you use the full desktop client, you've got a lot more settings. So again, this is going to be where most things are changed. It's going to be under our file and options. And this time we're going to look at our left-hand bar here, and we've got search. And then you can see we've got some options. And right here under results, it says include results only from current folder, current mailbox when searching from the inbox. And then you have that option, current mailbox, and then all mailboxes. So in our case, we want it to be on the current folder. And then when it says mailbox, you see that how it says inbox, this is the part that was added. So this is the default. We don't want that. We want it to be only the current folder, no matter what folder that we're in, because when you're in the inbox is normally where you start searching. Now you can see we've got some other checkboxes here. You can include the messages from deleted items, display it as a query, improve search speed by the number of results shown, highlight search terms, that's always a good one. You can change that color if you wanted something to stand out a little bit more, and then notify me when results might be limited because search indexing is not complete. I tend to not touch those other ones. The only one that I come in and change is that current folder setting. So we click OK, and it's really that simple. You can see that right here it says search inbox, but you can see that we also got that drop down. So if at any time, you're searching and you think, wow, I really do need to search everything, including deleted items, you still have the option to change that. All this means is that it's going to make it the default that when I come in here and start searching, it's only going to search my current folder. In this case, it's my inbox. But if I come in and I do sent items, it's only going to search sent items. And you can see that's changing. So, it changed just by me changing that default. But I always have the choice to come in and say all Outlook items, all mailbox, subfolders, current mailbox. So you still have that available to you. But this will just help speed up search a little bit. It's going to make it a little bit more streamlined. So if you're already in a particular folder, maybe I'm in clutter and I've got a few things in here, I can come in and search just clutter for finance. So again, I already found a couple of items that probably shouldn't be in clutter and maybe I need to move out. But this is just one little tiny change that will improve that search experience and maybe make email work a little bit better for you. So I'm going to go back to my presentation. And again, that's a really simple change. So under File Options, and then that setting you want to change is Current Folder Only. So this is something that is more common nowadays too, as we have personal email accounts, work email accounts, multiple email accounts. So if you do have a central location that you're used to working in, the Outlook desktop client, maybe you're on a BYOD, bring your own device, and you own the laptop that you're doing most of your work from, you can set up multiple accounts in Outlook. And that makes it easier to get all of your accounts in more than one location. So one thing that I usually tell people is be very mindful of your corporate policies. Depending on your organization, they may not want you having personal information on a, issued device. So it's one that you don't own it, But there's plenty of situations where you may be responsible for more than one email account. Maybe you're the owner for a distribution list. Maybe you're in charge of a group or planner if you're using Office 365. And if you're working for nonprofits, maybe you're doing volunteer work. So many situations where you don't want to go place to place to place and check your emails. You just want them to come to one location and make it simpler for you. Now, some things to look out for before you set this up. You want to pay attention what accounts you're sending email from. So even though you have to go log into different accounts and different sites, it's very, very structured. You're logging into one account, you're logging out of one account. It's really hard to get that confused. When you have all the email accounts coming into one Outlook, it can be easy to accidentally send an email from the wrong email. That'll make your email threads and your searches get a little thrown off. So it's just something to be very mindful of if you're going to have more than one account. And you want to make sure you set up different signatures for those accounts. So in the case of distribution lists, maybe you don't want just your name on there. Maybe you want something about the distribution list, where to sign up, where to opt out, where to see the archives, any of that information. If it's for, some outside vendor, supplier that you're managing, maybe you want a different contact info, not your normal name and title and email. And then the other key is make sure you set a default email account. So in most situations, you're using Outlook for the organization that you work for. Your personal email is probably going to be your default account. If, however, maybe you're in a position where you manage multiple email accounts, maybe you're in charge of the info at, contoso.com, and that's your default email account. So you want to make sure you set that default. That makes it a little bit easier to be mindful of when you're sending an email, where it's coming from. So I'm going to show this in Outlook first. Now you can add multiple accounts in the Windows 10 app as well. It's really a preference. So my personal setup is I do all of my work emails from Outlook, and then in my Windows 10 app, I have my personal email accounts that I use for a couple of nonprofits that I assist with and volunteer with, and my personal email come through Windows 10. There was a point in time where I had 4 different email accounts coming in through Outlook, and one of those email accounts became a little problematic. It was my, my iPhone email account. It just didn't seem to sync the folders in. Moved them over to Windows 10, haven't had any issues, but I've kind of segregated it with work stays on Outlook, and then my personal ones, they go through the Windows 10 mail app, or I can check them on Outlook Online if I need to. So in this instance, this is not going to be done through File and Options. If you want to add a brand new account, it's actually done through the page here where you see account settings. Right above that, we're going to come in and click Add Account. Now, you may have a situation where, you're the assistant or the chief of staff and you have rights to somebody else's email. Again, you're going to want to check with your organization policies. They may not want you adding a second email account. They may want you being a delegate where you can send email on behalf of, but you don't receive and send all their emails, so it's not coming into your inbox. There's a couple of different ways that can be set up. So that may be dependent on your organization's policies. In this instance, I'm just going to add an email for demonstration purposes of one of the other demo accounts that I have. So again, this is going to depend strictly on your organization's policies. This may not be the process that you go through if you're in charge of somebody else's email and it's an individual. But for demonstrations, I'm just going to come in and add a second email. Now, if you were in charge of a distribution list, there's probably no problem adding that account directly into your Outlook application. So it's going to search for this. It's going to want to go out and make sure that this is a valid email, and then it should just populate in it, and I'll show you how you now have 2 inboxes once it shows up. So you can see it didn't take that long at all. We go ahead and click Finish, and it's going to want me to restart. So this is pretty common. This isn't something that you want to get set up right before you have to send out some emails. You want to take care of it a little bit ahead of time. And then it's going to ask me which profile I want to load in. Now, again, this is because it's a demo account. A regular user isn't going to have all of these pop-ups asking which profile. I've got several different demo accounts on this machine, so you're seeing a slightly different experience. So while it's populating that email for the new user, we can switch over to the Windows 10 app. And in Windows 10, it's very, very similar process. So again, I've got my basic email, right? I can see the accounts here. I can come into the inbox. You see I've also got that accounts option, and it pulls up right away. I can add an account. Now you also have this link inboxes tool. It really varies what you're going to be doing with your email. I tend to just leave that alone, but you want to come in and add an account. And it's going to be very similar to the mobile experience. If you've ever added email on any mobile device, whether it's iPhone and Android, you get that prompt, what kind of email account are you adding? So in our case, I know it's another Exchange account, but I could easily add my Gmail, my iCloud email. I told you I did that personally. It tends to work better in the Windows 10 app. But in this case, we're just going to come in and add that same demo account. And go through those steps. And it's a pretty seamless process. Now, again, you're always going to get the most detail and the most settings options within the Outlook desktop client. You can't add a second account to Outlook Online. You're going to have to log in and log out of those. In cases of shared calendars and groups, of course, you can see those when you're logged in and you're a member, but it works slightly different than the desktop applications. So while this is loading in Windows 10, let me make sure I typed everything in correctly. We're going to switch back to Outlook. And now you'll notice that I have more than one inbox. So in this case, I actually go in right away and turn off my favorites because it just adds a little bit of confusion. So I'm doing that on the ribbon. But now you can see I've got more than one inbox here. I've got the inbox for Sarah and I've got the inbox for Garth. So I can switch between these and now I'm reading both people. You can see Garth has automatic replies turned on because he's out of the office. So you can see that it has a pretty concise look. Now, where do you need to be careful? You need to be careful when you're sending an email. And I'm going to click a new email and you'll see what it says. It says it's sending from Garth. We haven't set up signatures for Garth yet, but I do have a drop down in the from where I can switch back to Sarah really, really easily. So this is why you want to come in and set a default. If you have two accounts, it's not that difficult, but if you have more than two accounts, occasionally it can happen where you may reply to somebody and you're replying with the wrong email account. So again, it's just one of those things that can happen, may not happen, but you just want to be really, really careful. You can see we've got that drop down there. So it just may be something that you need to be aware of. Now, again, we can go back to our settings and make sure we have a default email account set up. So if we go back to File and Options, you can see we come into Mail and you see we're under Sarah's right now. Now, in our settings, we want to go through and you can pick a default email account. And let me just search really quickly to tell you where that's from. But it is a setting in here. So I may come back and update you on that one. So that's one thing that you want to do is you want to make sure you set your default programs. Now let's go back to Windows 10 really quickly, see if it pulled in Garth's information. It wants his password again. So this is really, really useful when you want to skip that for now. We don't want to link those two Windows 10's account. Again, when you have multiple email accounts, really, really easy thing to do. I'm getting some of these pop-ups because of my demo tenant. So now you can see I've got two inboxes. I can switch back between Sarah and Garth just like I can in the Outlook application. So something you may want to consider, again, just be mindful of where you're sending those emails from. So a few other things to consider. Outlook is really one of the most customizable applications in the Microsoft suite. There are a ton of settings, a ton of views that you can change, how you respond to emails. You saw that with the signature. If it's a new email, send a standard signature. If it's a reply, send a reply signature. Spending a little time setting up your email just the way you like it, it's not only going to make you more productive, it's going to save you some headaches later on. So if you're always struggling with the calendar view, you don't like the way it lays out, or maybe even the folders and columns that you see in your email on your inbox. Take a little time to get that set up and it'll be an easier day every single day. So again, there's a ton of different settings. We could actually spend the whole day going through the different Outlook options that you have. But a few things you may want to consider that you can do quick searches on: creating a standalone search folder, creating a custom view, whether it's for your inbox or a calendar, set your working hours on your calendar. We've actually done a session on that if you look at our YouTube channel. Even add additional columns either to your inbox view, your sent items view, your deleted views. So the majority of these changes are going to be done through File and Options when it comes to the way things work, like your signature, either on your screen, like adding a column view, or through the ribbon, like if you're changing your calendar view. But some things that you may want to look into just to make sure your email is up and working. So if you're working with Office 365 and even the standalone Office applications that are tied to Office 365, you know that there's a lot of changes that happen, and it's tough to sometimes keep your employees informed. What's the latest and greatest update? Maybe they have a slight little change in a menu or a ribbon and it throws them off. So one way that you can effectively get that information out to your employees and make sure your training content is always up to date is with Evolve 365. This is a Planet Technology service, which is a subscription-based help desk as a service specifically for Microsoft Office 365 and Office, and it helps to increase end-user adoption and evolve your organization to be more productive. We have over 28,000 self-help videos that can be viewed on demand, where users can come in and search for a specific item, like how to create a calendar view or how to set up a signature, or they can also do guided training at their own pace. We also have additional add-ons such as live support and vision and planning services, but every subscription comes with a dedicated Office 365 trusted advisor like myself that'll help keep you up to date on the updates to Office 365 and help advise how you're going to push this information out to your users and keep an eye on your service itself. If you'd like to know more information about Evolve 365, we do have a free trial site that you can look at. It has a sample of videos where you can come in, see how the look and feel is. Most of our videos are 30 seconds to a minute long. And you can get that experience by going to our free trial website at freetrial.o365support.com. You can also visit o365support.com to learn more about Evolve 365 and view a couple of sample training videos on the site itself. If you have any questions about how that works, feel free to send us an email at info@o365support.com. Now, we just kicked off our October Tips and Tricks series today, talking about email. Next week, we're going to be talking about the Android apps that are available for Microsoft products. And then at the end of the month, we're going to get into some advanced word formatting on table of contents, section breaks, and page numbers. We also have a separate webcast going on for the Microsoft Business Intelligence and Power BI products. That started last week, but you can catch the recordings and you can sign up for this week's and next week's sessions on our events website at go-planet.com/events. And as always, you can find all of our recordings on our Planet Technologies YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Planet Technologies. So that's what we have for today's session. I hope everyone was able to get a little bit out of that. Again, email is the backbone of our business world, no matter what industry you're in. So I hope you got some good tips today. I want to thank everyone for their time, and I hope to see you next week.